And security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant and retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert. Thank you for coming in. General, to you first. The president apparently is considering limited strikes because he said the following to a reporter.
I guess I can say I am considering it. They better negotiate a fair deal. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time.
If you didn't hear it, he said, I think I can tell you I am considering that, talking about limited strikes. So the question to you, General, would be, is the plan to hit a few targets to see if it brings them back to the negotiating table? What do you think the goal here is?
Trace, I think there's four benefits to limited strikes. Number one, I do think it might be a bridge to actual good faith negotiation from the Ayatollah and the regime. But I also think it is likely to incur less risk by ballistic missile response from Iran. I also think it might ultimately help prompt those protests that are starting to bubble from the bottom up. And it also would be a good down payment to make good on we are locked and loaded and we are here to support the protesters and help is on the way.
Yeah, he's talking about the protest. The former Pentagon official Brent Sadler said this about that very subject. Rebecca, watch.
The interesting part of this, to me, aside from the military, is these protests that are picking back up. This, again, was one of the triggers for President Trump to, initially get engaged with the regime there. The nuclear and the ballistic missiles, that came after. But the murder of over 30,000 Iranians on the streets by this theocratic regime is really one of the triggers.
And I wonder, Rebecca, if you believe as well that maybe these massive protests, the bigger they get, if they do get bigger, does that tend to embolden the president to take action?
Well, he's certainly motivated by that, and we're seeing the Iranians move into a period of mourning as well for what was happening in January. I'd love to see that regime gone, but I do think President Trump is laser focused on getting that nuclear deal, getting that 972 pounds of enriched uranium squared away. And hey, Iran really needs to make a deal. That's what all this military pressure is about.
Yeah, the Washington Post writes the following here. The U.S. military buildup initially was reassuring to some officials in the region, according to the diplomat. But the indication that the Trump administration is preparing for an extended conflict have become deeply concerning. What do you think about when people use that phrase, extended conflict? Is that something that you think is a possibility in this case, General?
Trace, I think that everyone's real concern here are those 1,000 or so ballistic missiles that Iran has pointed at targets throughout the Middle East, which is why I think any strike options would first strike ballistic missile sites, because that's the regime's only real way to project power from Iran. And I also think that's another benefit to those limited strikes. It is less risky because it is less likely to incur the wrath of a large amount of ballistic missiles coming towards targets in the Middle East from Iran.
Rebecca, I look at this window. The president gave a 10 to 15-day window. Technically, today is kind of the first day of that 15-day window. What do you think about it? Does he use the entire window? I mean, last time this happened, he did. Does he use the entire window, most of the window? What are your thoughts on that?
That depends on Iran. He's got enough firepower now. And don't forget, priority number one is force protection for the 40,000 American servicemen we've got in Central Command, the destroyers, the aircraft, all that, making sure that our forces are safe and can handle the Ayatollah's arsenal.
Yeah. Rebecca, General, thank you both. Coming up.